I'm not going to. There was a little farm called Chavat Kinneret, and that was a small agriculture community that was purchased by Jewish organization, the Jewish National Fund, and it was located inside a moshava. A moshava was also a form of agriculture community in the Zionist movement. So we're talking from the 19th. Here I went to high school. Wow. That's what I mean. Okay, so now you'll see this community on the left that is called Moshava. Moshava was the Jewish families that left Eastern Europe at the end of the 19th century and came here in order to establish a new Jewish life. And in some point they were sponsored by both the Baron Edmund de Rothschild and the Jewish National Fund, where they purchased land to help them establish this agriculture community, Judaism down to earth, connecting to the roots of this land through agriculture. And I want to tell you a small story of, by the way, my grandfather, when he came to this land in the 1930s from Russia, he was 1 year old, and he stayed at this farm over here. You see the red roofs here on the left? That is called Chavat Kinneret, Chatzar Kinneret. It was an agriculture farm which trained and made an easier landing for the Zionist Jews that came in the beginning of the 20th century. This is Chatzar Kinneret. And from here also came a very special poet, a young girl that came from Russia. Her name was Rachel Blumstein. Rachel Blumstein. Rachel. And she came to work in agriculture, and she came to fulfill her desire to live in the land of her ancestors, part of the Zionist national movement. And she stayed at this farm, and she completely fell in love with everything you see around you. You can understand why. The fields, the date trees, right? The date cultivation all around. This is a lot of date cultivation here. The date trees, yes, all of this is date trees, yes. Is famous for date cultivation here. On the right you see the Sea of Galilee, and beyond it the Golan Heights. And she was a poet, and she wrote songs about this place. Unfortunately, the end of her life wasn't very, I would say, optimistic. Towards World War I, she went to Europe to study agronomy, and then she got stuck there because of the war. And she wanted to come back, but she couldn't. And so she went back to her hometown in Russia, and she went to work with children, and then she caught a terrible disease called tuberculosis. It was very, very contagious at the time, and there wasn't any cure. And when she came back, they discovered it. But all she wanted to do is come back and live in this region, to come back to be part of the new kibbutz, the Ganya that was built. The place she loved the most, where her heart was here. But she couldn't stay because she was sick. And so she had to move to Tel Aviv, and she spent her time in Jerusalem next to hospitals and in an apartment, isolated. But in those years she wrote her most beautiful song. For this region, for this country. And I want to put you to hear one of these songs that was later played by a famous Israeli artist called Arik Einstein. And it's called Ve'ulai. Ve'ulai. And perhaps. And perhaps the things have never been. And perhaps I never woke up to work at the garden on the wagon loaded with sheaves. Wait, I'm trying to... And perhaps in the long, long days of summer, I would look at you, my Kinneret. Kinneret is what we call the Sea of Galilee. And I would wonder, Kinneret, did you truly exist, or did I ever dream? That is a translation of this poem.
Except for JR.
And now I will put you this song. It's in Hebrew and it was played by Arik Einstein. Tiberias in front of us. We're going to cross Tiberias.